windmills. Perhaps you picture those quaint stone or wooden structures that used to dot the European landscape. But today's giant turbines are grinding out electricity, not flour. So how did this age-old technology become synonymous with new age energy? Denise Bodie of the American Wind Energy Association says the U.S. military first put the turbine-driven blades into practical use.
A lot of the folks building airplanes and blades and turbines and all that started really experimenting with building wind turbines. When the industry moved back into making really defense applications from civilian applications, the Europeans came over, and much of the technology that was built, Bell Helicopters, those kind of companies, was transferred.
Bodie says the European Union has since outpaced the United States when it comes to wind power. She says that's because the EU put standards in place that required certain percentages of renewable energy for fuel and electricity. Bodie says she'd like to see a similar national policy here in the United States.
Not only because it helps consumers, a renewable electric standard at the national level, but we also want it in place not just to help the cost of electricity be reasonable and rational over a period of time, but because when you put that policy, that's the signal that drove development of manufacturing in the European Union. We want that same signal in the U.S. because we want to expedite the growth of jobs and manufacturing here in the U.S., where we're the Saudi Arabia of wind.
Bodie says over the last 3 years, wind was responsible for 40% of all new electricity in the U.S. Globally, it has grown more than 30% on average over the past 10 years. But this year, Charles Ebinger of the Brookings Institution says some of the wind has gone out of wind power's sail.
Last year was a banner year. The industry installed nearly an additional 10,000 megawatts of power, bringing the total contribution of wind in the United States up to about 35,000 megawatts. But keep in mind that's still around something like 4% of total U.S. electricity consumption. This year, however, we've only added 539 megawatts through the first 6 months of the year, so you can see we're off nearly tenfold.
Ebinger says another problem is the location of the wind power source.
The difficulty is the wind is, of course, predominantly located in a wind corridor from roughly North Texas up through Kansas, Nebraska, the Dakotas, and then some in Wyoming and Montana. But the problem is all these resources are far away from major demand centers, meaning our major urban areas. And what we really have to do in this country, both for wind and to develop our vast solar resources in the Southwest, is rebuild the national electricity transmission system.
Ebinger believes wind power, along with other renewables, do offer a long-term solution to the world's energy problems, especially in areas that are not known to have reliable electricity.
A country I know well is Pakistan, and if you think of a map from kind of Karachi on the south coast, then there's a little bit of land that goes down towards the Indian border. That is one of the greatest wind corridors in the world, and they've done a tremendous job developing wind power.
Ebinger says wind power could one day produce as much as 300,000 megawatts of electricity in the United States. But he says it will take some time, decades perhaps, to harness wind power's full potential. I'm VOA's Rebecca Ward for Going Green.